Welcome to Duo Reads, where we decode deep ideas and break down big books one page at a time. Today, we're looking at a truly fascinating document called High Performance Habits. And this isn't just another collection of tips, It's a deep exploration into what really drives long-term success. And it challenges many of those common assumptions we all kind of hold about achievement.
That's absolutely right. And it's grounded in some serious research. We're talking 20 years of insights, a whole decade of elite-level performance coaching, plus a huge data set from surveys and interviews with high performers all over the world. It really gets at that core frustration, doesn't it? Why do some people just plateau, despite working hard, being passionate, focusing on their strengths?
Right. I've definitely felt that myself.
And the document basically argues that a lot of the popular advice out there, well, it just isn't adequate for reaching that next level. It suggests it's maybe less about just innate talents and more about consistent service and making a meaningful contribution.
That's a really powerful distinction.
Yeah.
So if natural talent or just passion aren't the main things, what does it really take then? What are the reliable habits, the ones that consistently work across different people, different situations, to create genuine high performance?
Well, what's fascinating here is the core finding. They call it the HP6. These are 6 deliberate habits, things you can learn, things you can improve on, identified right there in the research. They are clarity, energy, necessity, productivity, influence, and courage.
Okay.
And it's really crucial to understand these aren't like automatic routines you just fall into. They're conscious habits, things you actively choose to practice. And the data is pretty clear. High performers aren't just successful in their field, they're also healthier, happier, more assertive, and they tend to be these really adaptive servant leaders.
Okay, so if the goal is that long-term, consistent high performance, where does the document say we even begin? Because it leads with something that, might seem obvious at first glance, but the way they define it is anything but. Clarity. Why is seeking clarity just so vital?
Clarity is really the anchor. Truly. It's what keeps high performers engaged and growing and actually fulfilled over the long haul. And the really profound insight here is that clarity isn't something you just find, like looking for lost keys. It's something you actively generate through like a relentless self-inquiry.
Yeah.
They gain this really deep clarity on who they want to be, how they want to interact with others, what they genuinely want out of life, and what brings them real meaning. Without actively generating that clarity, even really successful people can find themselves, achieving the wrong things, caught in that common trap of just busy work that doesn't actually lead anywhere meaningful.
The document mentions these future 4 categories for clarity: self, social, skills, and service. So this isn't like a one-time goal-setting session, is this? More of a routine practice, constantly asking questions about these areas.
Precisely, yeah. High performers, they spend significantly more time, the research suggests about 60 minutes more per week, just thinking about their ideal future selves.
An hour more a week. Wow.
Yeah. The author actually uses his own personal mantra, live, love, matter. It's simple, but he says it's been an incredibly effective clarity checkpoint he's used for like over 2 decades, just to stay on track every single night.
That's commitment.
And yes, it absolutely applies to social interactions too. It's not just about going on autopilot in conversations. High performers are really intentional about how they want to treat other people, the kind of mood they want to set, and maybe what others might need from them in that moment. They strive to be thoughtful, appreciative, and, present.
That makes a lot of sense.
Yeah.
And then there's the focus on skills and service you mentioned.
Indeed. They're incredibly clear about the skills they need to develop for future success. They're actively building their own curriculum, so to speak.
Their own curriculum.
Yeah, so this raises a pretty important question for you listening right now. What skills are you actively developing for next year? What's on your curriculum? And then there's this really powerful idea of obsessing about providing value or service to others, rather than just focusing inward on personal strengths.
Right, that feels like a big shift.
It is. It's about what they call adaptive service, identifying what needs fixing out there in the world or in your team or community, and then actively growing into the person who can help fix it. It's a fundamental shift from what am I good at to where can I actually be most useful.
Okay. So once you have that clarity, that direction, the next challenge is often just having the fuel, right?
Yeah.
The energy to sustain it. The document describes energy not just as like a resource, but almost as a magical trifecta, doesn't it?
It does, yeah. Energy In this context, it's about this positive, enduring mix of mental, physical, and emotional vibrancy. And our research shows really clearly that low energy directly correlates with lower overall high performance. That includes things like happiness, enthusiasm, confidence, even influence.
So it's not just about avoiding burnout.
Exactly. It's also about avoiding the risk of becoming what the document calls miserably accomplished.
Miserably accomplished. Oof.
Yeah.
That's a stark image.
It is. It really paints a picture, doesn't it?
Yeah. I remember the story they told of Arjun, that tech titan who was absolutely crushing it by all external measures. He felt constantly tired and just miserable. Even tried quick fixes like, what was it, 5E vitamins?
That's the one.
So what did that miserable accomplishment look like in practical terms? And why is managing energy so fundamental to avoiding it?
Well, it means you're hitting all those external markers of success, the promotion, the money, the recognition.
Yeah.
But it's coming at the cost of your internal well-being, your health, your relationships, your actual joy. High performers understand this trade-off isn't sustainable or desirable, so they choose to generate positive emotions. They don't just wait for happiness to, magically appear.
Okay, so how do they generate it?
They use key practices. One is called release tension, set intention. This is all about mastering the transitions between activities. That moment you finish one meeting and rush to the next.
Oh, yeah, the whirlwind.
Right. So instead, they take just a minute or two for a simple meditation or breathing technique, just to clear the physical and mental tension before shifting focus. Another practice is to consciously bring the joy.
Bring the joy. I like that.
Yeah. It's about actively cultivating positive emotions. It can be as simple as asking yourself some questions in the morning, like, what can I get excited or enthusiastic about today? Or maybe, what might stress me out today? And how would my best self handle that situation?
Those are really practical questions to start the day with. I can see how that would shift your mindset.
They also use these little mental triggers, things like the door frame trigger, pausing at a doorway to set an intention for the next room or interaction, or the waiting trigger, using moments of waiting, like in line, to practice gratitude or deep breathing, and the touch trigger, using physical touch, like a handshake or hug, as a reminder to connect positively. It helps steer interactions towards positivity.
Little cues.
And finally, probably the most obvious but critical one, optimize health. There's just such a crucial link between exercise and mental performance. Exercise increases something called BDNF, that's brain-derived neurotrophic factor.
The BDNF, okay.
Yeah, you can basically think of it like miracle grow for your brain cells. It boosts your brain's ability to grow, connect, and thrive, which in turn improves learning, memory, attention, and it even decreases stress.
Wow.
And get this, the top 5% of all high performers studied, they are 40% more likely to exercise at least 3 days per week than the 95% below them.
40% more likely. That's significant.
It really is. And nutrition is equally vital. The principle is simple. Eat well, feel well, perform well. The document also warns against using meals as a way to just push down negative emotions, something many of us do without thinking.
Guilty.
Yeah, me too sometimes. It's just a simple starter plan for exercise, like a 2x2 approach. 2 20-minute weightlifting sessions, 2 20-minute cardio sessions per week, and then just brisk walks on the other days. Something manageable.
Okay, that sounds doable. So we have clarity, we have energy. Next up is necessity. This one really stood out to me. It's described as the emotional drive that makes great performance a must, not just, a preference. It reminds me of that really poignant story of Isaac, the injured Marine, who hit rock bottom and questioned what's the point of his recovery. How does this necessity actually manifest itself? What does it feel like?
Well, the core idea is that without this deeply felt necessity, no tactic, no tool, no strategy is really going to help you push through the hard times. The document talks about 2 main internal forces that drive this feeling. First, it's having high personal standards and a deep commitment to excellence. High performers, they just hold themselves to incredibly high standards, and they self-monitor frequently. Are they living up to them?
So they're tough on themselves.
In a way, yes, but it's more like they tie their identity to doing well, even if they don't always enjoy the specific task at hand. And here's a surprising bit. Satisfaction for them is often a result of their performance, not the cause of it.
Huh. So they perform well to become satisfied, not because they are satisfied.
Exactly. It flips the usual script. They perform first, satisfaction follows.
Interesting. Okay, what's the second internal force driving necessity?
The second one is an obsession with understanding and mastering a topic. Now, this goes way beyond just like passion or grit. which we hear a lot about.
Yeah.
The document calls it an almost reckless obsession. It makes them feel this imperative to perform at higher and higher levels.
It's reckless obsession.
Yeah. As the document puts it, when you are passionate about what you do, people understand. When you are obsessed, they think you're mad. That's the difference.
Wow. So what's that madness really unlocking? What does obsession do that passion doesn't?
Well, I think it signals a kind of total immersion, a feeling that this pursuit isn't just an interest, it's an absolute imperative. It implies this almost irrational drive to solve something or create something or master something, which lets them push way past comfort zones and conventional limits that maybe passion alone wouldn't sustain them through.
Right.
The goal isn't necessarily to be mad, but to find something that sparks that level of unusual interest and then give yourself permission to really geek out and go deep on it.
Okay, so that covers the internal drive, high standards, and obsession. What about external forces? What outside factors create this sense of must for high performers?
Good question. The external forces are just as important. One is a deep sense of social duty, obligation, and purpose. This is like a profound sense of duty to someone else or something bigger than themselves, or maybe strong accountability for their performance.
Like keeping a promise.
Exactly. Fulfilling a promise, serving a specific mission, knowing others are counting on you. They feel pulled towards performance by this positive sense of duty rather than being pushed by negative pressure or fear.
Pulled, not pushed. I like that distinction.
And then there are real deadlines. The document highlights the immense power of hard deadlines, not those vague, nice-to-have dates we often set for ourselves.
Guilty again.
We all do it. But high performers, they understand the clear negative consequences if a real deadline isn't met, and the clear benefits if it is. And importantly, these effective deadlines are often social. They affect other people.
Ah, so that adds pressure, but in a constructive way.
Precisely. It's almost like the difference between saying, yeah, I should probably clean out the garage sometime soon, versus, oh my gosh, the in-laws are visiting next weekend.
Huh. Okay, yeah, that social deadline definitely brings the necessity, doesn't it?
It absolutely does. And the document makes a great point. Time pressure doesn't have to make people miserable. Used correctly, it actually helps us get closure between activities and allows us to devote our full focus to the next thing.
That's a great way to put it. Okay, so getting to your A game involves knowing why it's necessary to show up. It's about getting there through these gates of identity and immersion, often by framing it as an opportunity to serve others. Makes sense.
Right. Which leads us naturally into productivity. Habit number 4. And the key here is that productivity isn't just about being busy, is it? It's about producing quality output that actually matters. Think of Athena, the executive mentioned in the material. Super busy, constantly pushing, juggling everything, but she had this nagging feeling like she was never making enough of a real difference. Busy, yes. Progressing, not so much.
That sounds incredibly common. That feeling of being incredibly busy but not making real forward progress. So what's the high-performance approach to productivity, and how does it link to, maybe surprisingly, happiness?
Well, high performers have a very deliberate approach to planning their days and weeks. They focus ruthlessly on what's truly important, and they're masters at avoiding distractions. Easier said than done, of course.
Tell me about it.
And there's also that crucial link back to energy we talked about. Good sleep, nutrition, exercise, managing your emotions, all of that directly fuels productivity. And yes, happier people are, in fact, more productive. That's not just feel-good advice. Extensive research backs it up.
Okay, so happiness fuels productivity. What about that constant debate around work-life balance? A lot of people feel like it's just impossible these days, but the document suggests otherwise, right? What does this all mean for finding some kind of balance without tanking your productivity?
Yeah, this is a big one. The document argues that the great mistake most people make is thinking about balance purely in terms of hours. Evenly distributed time slots. They focus on the quantity of time rather than the quality of the experience in each area of life.
Quantity versus quality.
Okay. And here's a really surprising, almost counterintuitive finding they highlight. The ideal breakpoint for maintaining focus and energy isn't powering through for hours on end. It's actually stopping your work and giving your mind and body a real break every 45 to 60 minutes.
Every hour or even less.
Yeah. A short break, maybe just 2 to 5 minutes. But crucially, not checking emails or scrolling social media. It needs to be a genuine recharge. Step away, stretch, look out the window, breathe, because just powering through actually makes you less productive over time and leaves you feeling completely wiped out at the end of the day.
I know I've definitely fallen into powering through trap myself.
Yeah.
Thinking it's productive when really it's just draining. It's a hard habit to break.
It really is. It feels counterintuitive to stop when you're in the zone.
Yeah. So, okay, take breaks. But how do high performers decide what specific outputs actually matter most in their field? How do they know what to focus on during those productive blocks?
Great question. They introduced this concept called prolific quality output, or PQO.
PQO.
High performers take the time to identify their key outputs, the main things they need to produce to be successful in their role or field. And then they consciously reorient 60% or more of their work week towards generating that specific PQO. The author uses himself as an example. He wanted to become a hashtag New York Times bestselling author, so he identified writing books as his primary PQO and became absolutely obsessed with dedicating focused time to that activity above almost everything else.
60%.
Yeah.
That's a lot. So it's really not about being a generalist, doing a little bit of everything. It's about identifying your unique, high-impact contribution and just doubling down hard on it.
Exactly. Finding your PQO and protecting time for it relentlessly.
So how do they practically implement that kind of focus, especially with so many demands?
To help with this, they often use a strategy called chart your 5 moves. For any major goal, like launching a product or getting a promotion or writing that book, you identify the 5 major moves. Think of them as the big buckets of activities, the major projects that will actually get you there.
Just 5 big moves.
Yep. This creates a clear map, a strategic overview. It helps prevent getting lost in the weeds or distracted by less important tasks. And the document makes a really interesting point about procrastination, too. It argues that procrastination often isn't really a time management problem. It's more of a motivational problem.
Ah, interesting.
Yeah. And that can often be overcome by working on things that intrinsically matter to you, things aligned with your clarity and necessity, and crucially, by having that clear plan, those 5 moves, so you know exactly what steps to take next.
That makes sense. Less overwhelm, more clarity on the next action. Okay, habit number 5, develop influence. Let's unpack this one. It's not just about being like an extrovert or having some kind of inherent charisma, is it?
No, not at all. The research actually found that personality traits like extroversion or even creativity aren't strongly correlated with sustained influence.
Really? That's surprising.
It is. Instead, influence seems to stem more from your perception of yourself as a high-performing person. And importantly, your actual skill at understanding other people and helping them think and act towards shared objectives. There's a story about Juan, a CEO who was struggling to influence Daniela, his new head of design. Juan initially wanted to sort of minimize her role or her ideas, but the expert guiding him reframed it. The goal should be to raise her ambition.
Raise her ambition. That's a totally different frame.
So how do high performers actually wield this influence then? It sounds like it's much less about a command and control style and maybe more about genuinely connecting with people and even challenging them to grow.
You've absolutely hit on the core of it. It's about elevation, not control. The document outlines what they call the ultimate influence model, and it's built on 3 key deliberate actions. And the surprising part, again, is that none of them require you to be a natural extrovert or have that magical charisma.
Okay, what are the 3 actions? First, teach people how to think. This means actively guiding how others think about themselves, about other people, and about the world around them. The author gives this really powerful example from his own childhood, how his parents taught him compassion, not by lecturing, but by how they handled difficult people at the DMV. Their actions taught him how to think about challenging situations.
Ah, so it's about modeling and framing.
Exactly. Deliberately framing discussions, asking guiding questions that help people see things differently or more constructively. Second, challenge people to grow. High performers don't shy away from pushing others constructively, of course, to develop their character, their connections with others, and their contribution.
They like being challenged themselves,
They
right?
do. They love challenge. And they explicitly set high expectations for others, sometimes using direct phrases like, I need you to listen more in these meetings, or let's see you show more respect here, or how can you contribute more to this project? But crucially, they tailor these challenges to the individual. It's not one size fits all. And the third action is role model the way.
Lead by example.
Precisely. High performers are consciously aware of being role models. They think about it, often daily. They act in ways that inspire others to believe in themselves and to strive to be their best. Remember Juan, the CEO? He eventually realized that to get the openness he wanted from Daniela, he needed to role model that openness first.
That's a powerful framework. Teach, challenge role model. It really makes you think, how often do we truly approach influence in these three really powerful, deliberate ways? It's definitely not about manipulation, is it? It feels like genuine elevation.
Exactly. Which brings us quite nicely to the final habit, number 6, demonstrate courage. The document introduces this as the cornerstone habit of high performance. It's significantly correlated with all the other 5 HP6 habits.
The cornerstone.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And they share the story of Sandra. She posted this video online that, on the surface, seemed pretty insignificant. But for her, it was this huge first courageous step towards reclaiming her freedom from a really difficult, abusive situation.
Right. And what's fascinating here is the definition of courage they use.
Yeah.
It's quite nuanced, isn't it? It's not just about those grand, heroic acts we see in movies.
No, not at all. That's a key point. Courage, as defined here, is determined action, taken to serve an authentic, noble, or life-enhancing goal. And crucially, it's done in the face of risk, fear, adversity, or opposition.
In the face of fear.
Right. So it's not necessarily about not feeling fear, it's about acting despite it.
Yeah.
And there's another important piece. The outcome matters. The actions taken should ideally do no harm and hopefully lead to good results. High performers just demonstrate this consistent bias toward action, even when things are uncertain.
Okay, so if it's determined action despite fear, what separates the people who seem to have more courage? The document says it's not really related to age or gender, right? So why do some seem to act more courageously than others?
Exactly. It doesn't seem to be about innate traits you're born with. What the research suggests is that courageous people have learned to embrace struggle. They see it as a necessary and even a positive part of the journey.
They embrace struggle.
Yeah. They actually love the process of trying to master new, difficult challenges. And they have this underlying confidence that they can achieve their goals, even when facing hardship. There's that military maxim, often used in really tough training environments. Embrace the suck.
Embrace the suck, okay.
It perfectly captures that mindset.
Yeah.
It's about accepting the difficulty, maybe even finding value in it, because it allows them to grow from adversity rather than being defeated by it.
That connects beautifully to another point they make about sharing your truth and ambitions. Sometimes the biggest act of courage isn't facing external danger, but just being yourself.
Yeah.
Authentically and unapologetically, even if maybe it makes other people uncomfortable or they worry you're playing too big.
Absolutely. That is a huge form of courage for many people. There's often this fear, isn't there, that if we shine too brightly or express our true ambitions, we might somehow diminish others or make them feel bad.
Yeah, definitely.
But holding back like that, the document states pretty bluntly, is not humility, it's lying.
Ouch. Lying.
Yeah. Strong words, but the point is powerful. High performers tend to live in fuller expression. They understand that the people who are truly in your life for the right reasons will listen to their truth and actually applaud their ambition. And there's a really empowering message tied to this. No one can quiet you without your permission. No one can minimize your self-image but you. And no one can open you up and release your full power but you. It really puts the ownership back on us.
Wow. That's incredibly empowering. And just as we wrap up the habits, that idea of finding someone else to fight for, that really resonates too. The author shares that very personal story, seeing his girlfriend asleep, weighed down by the stress of his bills, and how that lit a fire under him. It shows that profound motivation that comes from fighting for someone beyond just yourself.
It's a powerful driver, that sense of necessity for someone else.
Definitely. Okay, so we have these 6 incredibly powerful habits.
Yeah.
Clarity, energy, necessity, productivity, influence, and courage. But even with these tools, things can go wrong. What are the pitfalls? What steals success, even from people who seem to be doing all the right things?
Right. The document is clear that even high performers can stumble, and the culprits aren't usually a lack of values or intelligence or even skill. Ultimately, the traps come down to allocations of attention. Where are you putting your focus? They identify 3 common traps. The first one is trap 1, superiority.
Superiority, thinking you're better than others.
Yeah. Or maybe just thinking you figured it all out, that you don't need feedback anymore or diverse viewpoints or support from others. It leads to dismissing people. Maybe condescension, that internal what a moron thought when someone disagrees. And it just destroys connection.
Okay, so how do you avoid that trap?
The solution starts with awareness, obviously, but also deliberately seeking out others' ideas. Asking things like, if you could improve on my idea, how would you do it? Hiring coaches or mentors who can give you honest feedback, and actively earning trust by genuinely caring for the people around you. And it includes remembering, as the document says, everything is trainable. You were once a mess too, probably. Others are capable of growth and success, just like you were.
That's a good humility check.
Yeah.
Okay, what's the second trap?
Trap 2. Dissatisfaction. This is a big one culturally. It's that common belief that you need to be constantly dissatisfied, always striving, never content, because that's what drives success.
Yeah, the never satisfied mantra.
Exactly. But the document challenges this as a damaging myth. The research actually shows that high performers are, on the whole, generally happier. They feel satisfied and well rewarded more often than lower performers.
So striving for dissatisfaction actually backfires.
It seems so. The solution proposed is to consciously cultivate satisfaction. Things like journaling your successes, no matter how small. Holding maybe weekly team or family discussions focused on what's working well. Starting meetings with positive shares before diving into problems. Basically, don't get so focused on the future goal that you miss appreciating what's going well right now.
That's great advice. Easy to forget. And the third trap.
Trap 3. Neglect. This one is often unintentional. It's not that people mean to neglect important areas of their life or work, but sometimes passion or just sheer busyness blinds them. It often stems from what the document calls overreaching, this insatiable desire for more achievement, more projects, coupled with maybe an unrealistic sense of what's actually possible in a given time frame, which leads inevitably to overcommitment and something getting neglected, usually health, relationships, or strategic thinking.
Been there. So what's the solution to neglect caused by overreaching?
This one requires a really difficult but vital mindset shift. It's about learning to slow down, be more strategic, and, crucially, say no more often.
Saying no. The hardest skill.
It really is. The suggestion is to almost default to saying no to nearly every new opportunity initially. Then force yourself to rigorously justify why saying yes is absolutely essential and aligns with your core priorities, your PQO, your 5 moves. It means maintaining that focus on your key priorities over months and years and deliberately not neglecting the foundational habits like energy, clarity, relationships that brought you success in the first place.
Slow down. Be strategic. Say no. Got it. So, to recap, the HP6: clarity, energy, necessity, productivity, influence, courage. And the 3 traps to beware of: superiority, dissatisfaction, neglect. Taken together, these principles, all backed by that extensive research, really do offer a powerful, actionable path towards building an extraordinary life. Looking back at everything we've discussed, what's the one thing that stands out most to you from this whole analysis of high-performance habits?
Reflecting on all 6 habits and the traps, the thing that consistently jumps out and is really reaffirmed as the #1 underpinning factor is confidence.
Confidence.
Yeah, but not just confidence as a feeling. The document explains it's built through 3 things. Competence, your skills, congruence, acting in line with your values, and connection, your relationships. And what's really fascinating is realizing that all 3 of those, competence, congruence, connection, are fundamentally driven by curiosity.
Curiosity. How so?
Well, think about it. It's curiosity that drives you to seek clarity about who you want to be and what matters. It's curiosity that makes you explore new ways to generate energy or understand your deeper necessity. It's curiosity that leads you to experiment with productivity techniques, learn how to truly influence others effectively, and find the courage to step outside your comfort zone.
Ah, I see the connection.
And that same relentless curiosity is also what helps inoculate high performers against the traps. Curiosity fights superiority because it keeps you humble and learning. It counters dissatisfaction by prompting you to explore what is working. And it prevents neglect by keeping you engaged and asking questions about all areas of your life. Curiosity is like the ultimate meta habit driving the whole system.
That's a truly unifying insight. Curiosity is the engine. I love that. And the document leaves us, the listeners, with a really potent question to consider, doesn't it? It asks us to think. What would your future self advise you to take right away to change your life? How would your future self tell you to live? That's such a powerful question to sit with, because your future self wouldn't tell you to play small, would they? They'd tell you to go for it, to live fully. Because that reality, that high-performance life we've discussed today, grounded in these habits, it really is something available to each of us. Now, go earn it. Thanks so much for joining us for this discussion.